If you are a taxpayer, a shop, or you're an advisor and your client comes to you, I'm sure many of you have milk bars or supermarkets or importers or your manufacturers, and somebody says, "Do I have to pay GST?" You say, "Well, you make a taxable supply if you make a supply for consideration, and the supply is made in the course or furtherance of an enterprise." Doesn't have to be a business. For income tax, you look at businesses. You only have to be carrying on an enterprise. An enterprise is just not much and is connected. Doesn't have to be in, it just has to be connected with the indirect tax zone, which is Australia and its territories, and you're registered or required to be registered, then you made a taxable supply. It does say, however, though, it's not a taxable supply if it's GST free or input tax. So the broad proposition is you make a supply for money in Australia, connected with Australia, and you're registered or required to be registered, you made a taxable supply. Well, what's a supply? A supply to be any form of supply whatsoever. That's pretty broad. A supply is a supply of any supply whatsoever. Then we slipped into the section 195 of definitions, but just to make sure, if it's a supply of any supply whatsoever, we even put a definition of thing. Definition of thing in section 195 is anything that can be supplied or imported. Can you start to think of anything that's not a supply of anything whatsoever or anything that can be supplied? We're making it pretty broad. That's what Costello wanted. Do you think that was enough? No, he said, you guys writing the legislation have to go further. So when we went to subsection 2, let's define it to also include goods, services, a provision of information or advice. What if you're just providing advice about food? What if you're providing a grant, assignment, or surrender of real property that involves food? And we're going to come back to later on about crops, cultivation. What if you're granting or transferring a rights in relation to food? Let's say property rights. Let's say you're supplying a brand of food, a name of food. What if you're creating a financial supply in relation to food, money that relates to food? That's covered. That's subsection 2. He said, not enough. Let's go to 3. An entry or grant of a obligation in relation to food. To do anything, to not do anything, to tolerate somebody taking food, to tolerate an act or situation into food, any combination of those. He said, not enough. Add in subsection 3, whether it's lawful to do it. We'll be talking about edible cannabis, jelly babies, those little fudge things. Cannabis is illegal. Still, even if it's illegal, subject is a supply. It doesn't even have to be money. It can be swap. If I swap some things, I swap you cannabis-laced jelly beans for fudges or for cookies, supply, all subject to GST.